Updated June 15th. We have our official review of the Surface Pro, which we've added below. With the Surface Pro 2017, Microsoft has rebooted its flagship Surface product, one of the leading 2-inch ones in the category. It's also shedding the numerical designations of prior products. If you've owned a Surface Pro 4, however, you already have a good idea of what Microsoft has in store for you with the new Surface Pro. We've assembled everything we know about the new Surface Pro, the price and release date, the specs, and our official review. We've also answered some of the questions we think you'll have about Microsoft's new device. Price and release date. You can pre-order the Surface Pro now. As of June 15th, you can now order all but the two most powerful Core i7 models of the Surface Pro, the 16GB RAM 512GB SSD and the 16GB RAM 1TB SSD. According to Microsoft, those models were previously scheduled to ship on June 30th, but Microsoft has removed the estimated shipping dates. Otherwise, the Surface Pro will launch in 26 markets, including the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, India, Taiwan, and more. Our news story from the Surface Pro launch has many more details. Microsoft's Surface products have never been cheap, and the Surface Pro's base model is $100 more expensive than the base model for the Surface Pro 4. Keep in mind that the prices below include the Surface Pro tablet only. Microsoft doesn't bundle it with any accessories at all, not even a keyboard, unless there's a special promotion. Intel Core M3, Intel HD graphics 615, 4GB RAM, 128GB SSD $799, Intel Core i5, Intel HD graphics 620, 4GB RAM, 128GB SSD $999, Intel Core i5, Intel HD graphics 620, 8GB RAM, 256GB SSD $1,299, Intel Core i7, Intel Iris Plus graphics 640, 8GB RAM, 256GB SSD $1,599, Intel Core i7, Intel Iris Plus graphics 640, 16GB RAM, 512GB SSD $2,199, Intel Core i7, Intel Iris Plus graphics 640, 16GB RAM, 1TB SSD $2,699, Mark Hartman IDG. Microsoft Surface Pro Signature Type cover ships in 3 colors. Accessory prices. Though you can use a Surface Pro as a simple tablet, you almost certainly want to buy some of the accessories, all of which cost extra. Keyboard. Well, start with the one everyone will want, a type cover keyboard. Microsoft offers the Surface Pro Signature Type cover $159, clad in fancy Alcantara fabric, and the primarily plastic Microsoft Surface Pro Type cover $129. Pen. Unlike the Surface Pros 3 and 4, Microsoft doesn't include a new Surface Pen, which costs $100 extra. Both the pen and Signature Type covers ship in 3 colors: platinum, burgundy, and cobalt blue. The generic Surface Pro Type cover is available only in black. Mouse. Though both type covers include a trackpad, an optional Surface Arc mouse will be available at launch for $80. Surface Dock. The Surface Dock, a port expander which adds 4 additional USB ports and 2 mini connections, is $200. While it's not available now, Microsoft says it will ship a version of the Surface Pro with integrated LTE later this year. A version with a new Windows 10 operating system, rather than the usual Windows 10 Pro, is also planned. Mark Hartman IDG. 2 of the optional Surface Arc mice. PC World's full review. And PC World's review of the Surface Pro, we gave the flagship 2-inch one 3.5 out of 5 stars, chiefly for 3 reasons: the excessive price of our review unit, the incremental improvements over the Surface Pro 4, and the quality of the competition. The performance improvements offered by the new Kaby Lake CPU and Iris Plus graphics are marvelous, but it's hard to swallow. High prices that do not include a type cover or a Surface Pen, both pricey in their own right. Video. The Surface Pro seems nearly identical to the Surface Pro 4, but the differences in CPU, graphics, and features do matter, for better and for worse. Watch our review video to see more. When Microsoft announced the Surface Pro on May 23, it was touted as a laptop despite its obvious lack of an included keyboard. Wordplay aside, Microsoft's videos of the product, we've compiled selected shots below, show off the sleek design, the inking capabilities, and the ability to use the Surface Dial on the display. Though, as our review mentions, it takes up a lot of space on the screen. Microsoft performance and battery life. All of the Core i5 and Core i7 chips used in the new Surface Pro are from Intel's most recent, 7th generation Kaby Lake family of CPUs. Microsoft says the processors offer 20% more performance than the Surface Pro 4, 2.5 times more computing performance than the Surface Pro 3, and 1.7 times the compute power of Apple's iPad Pro. Naturally, those results vary by benchmark. See our Surface Pro 2017 review for details. In some cases, the Surface Pro 2017 performance is even better than expected. Microsoft also says the Surface Pro will last for 13.5 hours of continuous video looping, up from 9 hours with the Surface Pro 4. Microsoft uses different metrics than we do for its video rundown test, but we've found the battery life to be closer to 8 hours. It's important to note that the thermal throttling that was present in the Surface Pro 3 but not in the Surface Pro 4 has returned. Microsoft told us they expect throttling of about 20%. We saw more, into the 30% range. That prompted Microsoft to suggest that they may have shipped us a defective system, and we've agreed to rerun our tests. Frequently asked questions. Microsoft's reboot of the Surface Pro name follows Hollywood's trend of rebooting movies, from Godzilla to Spider-Man to Ghostbusters. It's all a bit confusing, so we'll try to clear up some of the mysteries. Why isn't it called the Surface Pro 5? Our understanding is that Microsoft wanted to refocus itself on the Surface Pro lineup, making a clean break from prior models. It forces us and you to use the awkward Surface Pro 2017 terminology, though. Microsoft. The Surface Pro's kickstand can drop to 165 degrees, to what Microsoft calls studio mode. Who should buy the Surface Pro? 2 years ago, the Surface Pro would have been a tablet for the masses. Now, perhaps in an attempt to distance the Surface Pro from a struggling Windows tablet market, Microsoft's calling this a laptop, even though the keyboard is an optional accessory. We wish Microsoft would let go of this baffling conceit. In any case, if you're a mobile professional, the new Surface Pro may be for you. The tablet is also powerful enough to play some older games at acceptable frame rates, though this shouldn't be the primary reason to buy it. Which Surface Pro should you buy? Obviously, you'll need to select a version that meets your needs and your budget. In my mind, though, the $1,299 Core i58GB RAM 256GB SSD offers a value proposition that's more in line with the competition. If you opt for one of the Core i7 variants, though, you will also receive the Iris Plus graphics core as part of the package, which boosts its GPU capabilities dramatically. What are PC World's first impressions? After I first used it at a briefing, I can say it seems to be a beefed-up Surface Pro 4. Slightly more rounded edges and more recessed cameras are barely noteworthy. I like the kickstand, which reclines a full 165 degrees. Microsoft calls this Studio Mode because it mimics the Surface Studio, the Surface Pro's all-known cousin. Over the course of our review, I really like the performance Microsoft built into the Surface Pro with the Iris Plus graphics. Otherwise, if you've used a Surface Pro 4, this will be familiar territory. If you want a more traditional notebook, consider the Surface Book, a Surface laptop instead. How does the Surface Pro differ from the Surface Pro 4, the Surface Book, and the Surface Laptop? Surface Pro 4. The Surface Pro improves upon its predecessor in a few key ways. The updated Kaby Lake CPU boosts performance and battery life. The wider range of the kickstand adds functionality, including the ability to use the Surface Dial. Surface Laptop. If you're looking for something comparable to the Surface Pro in a true notebook form factor, you should check out the Surface Laptop. Note that its operating system is the classroom-focused Windows 10s, but it's upgradable to the same Windows 10 Pro that the Surface Pro uses. Surface Book. Like the Surface Pro, the Surface Book is a two-in-one with a detachable keyboard. The Surface Book offers a lot more oomph, however, especially with the associated performance base. It's the only Microsoft notebook, a 2-inch one with discrete graphics, too. How much does the Surface Pro cost? Prices range from $799 to $2,699, and that's just for the tablet. You'll probably want to buy either a Surface Pro Signature Type cover $159 or the Microsoft Surface Pro Type cover $129 as a keyboard, and then the optional $100 Surface Pen. A Surface Dock $200 is another possibility if you want additional ports. Our first impressions: the Surface Pro 2017 is a Surface Pro, plain and simple tablet, magnetically attached type cover keyboard, kickstand. If you were to put a Surface Pro next to a Surface Pro 4, about the only way to tell the difference would be to look at the attached Surface Pen, which lacks the clip of its predecessor. Mark Hartman IDG. The new Surface Pen below features 4096 levels of pressure sensitivity, about double that of its predecessor above. I was impressed by the greater range of the kickstand. I'm not sure potential buyers will care as much as I do about the fact that you can now use the Surface-style peripheral on screen, though it's a nice touch. For a deeper look, please see our review of the Surface Pro 2017, specs and features. While the Surface Book offers a bit more physical space to pack in battery and discrete GPUs, the Surface Pro maintains an emphasis on portability. The key upgrade for the Surface Pro refresh are the Intel Kaby Lake CPUs, which bring several fundamental improvements in speed and battery life. If you want something a bit slower and a lot cheaper, try the Core M model. The performance should be satisfactory for basic office tasks. CPU 1 GHz Core M37Y 302.6 GHz Core i5-7300U Kaby Lake 2.5 GHz Core i7-7660U Kaby Lake. Memory options will vary, depending on your choice of Surface Pro 2017. Note that there is no 8GB option for the Core i7 at this time. 4GB Core M38GB Core M3 a Core i516GB Core i5 a Core i7 storage or SSD size will vary. 128GB Core M Core i5 256GB Core i5 Core i7 512GB Core i7 1TB Core i7. Our review unit included a Samsung KUSO-40202MB000 NVMe drive, providing among the fastest read speeds we've tested, 1702 Mbps. Graphics: the Surface Pro offers only integrated graphics. Graphics performance will increase along with processor power. But the Surface Pro is one of the only tablets and notebook we've seen with the Iris Plus graphics core inside. Core M Intel HD Graphics 615 Core i5 Intel HD Graphics 620 Core i7 Intel Iris Plus Graphics 640 Display Corning Gorilla Glass 12.3-inch diagonal pixel sense display resolution 2736 by 1824 pixels 267 ppi 32 aspect ratio. Surface Pen enabled sold separately 10-point multi-touch keyboard. The new Surface Pro's keyboard features 1.3mm of key travel, slightly less than the 1.5mm of travel used by the Surface laptop. If you buy the Surface Pro signature type cover, you'll get an Alcantara-clad deck that's laser-cut to fit snugly around the keyboard keys, in either platinum, burgundy, or cobalt blue. Otherwise, you can buy a standard type cover, in black. Software: though the Surface Pro uses Windows 10 Pro, Microsoft says a version of the Surface Pro will ship later on with Windows 10s installed. Ports and connectivity: somewhat surprisingly, Microsoft has chosen to stick with its established Surface connector for charging, rather than use USB-C. Supposedly, that's for reasons of backward compatibility with existing Surface chargers, as well as in response to people who complained that the Micros-powered Surface 3 took forever to charge. USB 3.0 Type: a mini display port, 3.5mm headphone jack, Surface connector for charging, Wi-Fi 802.11 AC, IEEE 802.11 ABGN compatible, Bluetooth 4.1 micro SD card reader. Mark Hartman IDG. The right side of the tablet houses the three main ports: the Surface connector, USB-A, and the micro port. Like other Surface devices, a micro SD slot hides behind the kickstand. Audio-visual unchanged since the Surface Pro 4. 5MP front, Windows Hello compatible, 8MP rear, stereo microphones, stereo speakers. Battery life: Microsoft rates the Surface Pro's battery life at 13.5 hours, just an hour shorter than the 14.5 hours claimed for the Surface laptop. Microsoft bases its claims on video rundown tests, the same metric PC World uses. We found the battery life of the Surface Pro 2017 clocked in at just over 8 hours, however, probably due to the brightness settings we used while testing. Exterior dimensions: 11.50 by 7.9 by 0.33 inches, weight 2.37 pounds to 2.41 pounds, with type cover. The exact weight will vary by model. The Core M model is the lightest. Chassis: aluminum color. The Surface Pro ships in just one color. Accessories, including the type cover and Surface Pen, can be purchased in these colors to personalize the tablet: burgundy, platinum, cobalt blue, black. Warranty: 1 year. Limited hardware warranty included in the box. Surface Pro power supply, quick start guide, safety and warranty documents.